2024, I was at a point in my life where every man or woman eventually gets to. This point is, what do I want to do with my life and what is my talent? What are the things that make me angry and what can I do about them? So at that time, the thing that was mostly that was coming up to me was the fact that the mental health of the world is declining. I know declining is not the right word to describe it, but I was just worried about the mental health. I was just worried about the depression, the anxiety, the way many people don't know how to deal with these things. When we were growing up, we were only being told to work hard, but we were never told to handle life's problems. And life has a lot of problems, it's challenging. Sometimes you are born into circumstances that you never wanted to be in. You never choose your parents, you never choose where you are born in. And where you are born in, there are actually problems that are systemic, they are not the ones which you caused personally, but you just have to deal with them. For example, like in our country right now, we just have these greedy politicians who were born into these tribal rivalries that have been going on for centuries before even we were born. And we were born into a post-colonial Kenya, so it's a post-independent Kenya, and it has been declining over the decades. So these things we don't have control over, but they affect us daily. They affect many people who have parents who are sick, many people who have siblings. Everyone is just facing something from the system. Everyone is facing a consequences that is coming from something they did not do themselves, but they have to face it. In 2024, I just realized that mental health is something very serious, and I had been suffering from depression in 2021 and 2022, and I wanted to do something in the mental health space. So in 2024, like everyone else, I wanted to get into IT, and IT, in this world that we live in, STEM, sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics are the courses that are being given the utmost attention. So to me, I wanted to also position myself along those lines. I was thinking, I can build this startup from scratch and then get it to be a billion company. In Kenya, fintech is actually very, very an industry that many people have made a lot of money in. So I really wanted to fix myself a space there in the technology space so I can become one of these great entrepreneurs. And when I was looking into the mental health space, I actually found out that this is a space that has not been given any much attention by anyone, actually. And I was really, really surprised because I was a big Elon Musk fan then. And I kept asking myself, like, do we really, why is humanity struggling to get into Mars? When we have a lot of problems in this world that we live in, who cares about Mars? Who wants to go to Mars when we have people dying? We have hunger issues, we have thirst issues, we have people who have no access to basic commodities. So I was always very skeptical about this Mars thing especially in a world where this thing is praised. I'm actually a very big Twitter user, so when you were in Twitter at that time, it was just giving praise to this billionaire. But the question kept coming up to me: why is not anyone paying attention to mental health space? And well, the one conclusion that I came to actually was quite surprising because I came to realize that the reason why people are not giving mental health attention is because there's no way you can profit from actually making a company about mental health. And this was one of the biggest revelations in my life actually that happened at that time. When I came to realize that the modern world has literally made everything to turn into an economic unit. Everything has to have a profit at the end of it. When you do something, you have to do it with a profit aimed in mind. Then I was working at this company, so I look at the structure of the company and I was like, okay, there are shareholders in this company. And when you are a capitalist fan, as I was before, what you usually hear from these big billionaires. I was really following billionaires at that time because I wanted to be one, and I still want to be one, but not the way that there are things that I've learned along the way about how billionaires get money. But at that time, at that particular moment in time, what I kept hearing from billionaires was the aim of a company is to usually make the money for stakeholders. So I kept asking myself, why is it so? Is the aim of the company to really solve a problem in the world and maybe get people to get into the next consciousness, in the next level of consciousness? Are companies just profit making machines? Because in this view, it means that the normal worker, is just a cog in the system. It's just a cog in a machine. And I was really starting to connect dots about the things that I've learned throughout history, like, for example, how the feminism movement came into being and getting women into the workforce actually suppressed, made wages become stagnant because there was a lot of labor in the market. And at that particular moment in time, I came to realize that people are not getting into this space because you cannot make money. Because even if you create a mental health app, for example, these there are things that you have to put into consideration. For example, paying for the hosting, paying for the domain, and this thing actually require money. But how are you going to get money? You have to charge the people coming into your app, and there's something so dehumanizing. There's something inhuman about having to make someone get into a subscription like model in order to solve their problem, their depression, their anxiety. In my thinking, those things were supposed to be free. But what was coming up as a very, very main obstacle in me going in this direction was there was no way to make money off of this project. So I kept asking myself, so in my thinking, eh, that came to mean that mental health is being ignored because there's no way to profit off sick people. And that's when I came into face to face with the fate of law in this corporatist capitalistic system that we use that really sees human beings as means to make a profit and not as human beings who are here for a divine purpose. At that time also something else came up in my mind because I was looking into my life and looking into my talents. What has God blessed me with? What does God want me to do with my life? So I was looking carefully into it, and I found myself really working hard to make myself become a coder, become a programmer, to become a software engineer. I was not doing this because this was my talent. I wanted to do this so that I could fit into a space that I was never really interested in. I hated doing Python. I hated I hated coding. I couldn't even hold a memory of HTML code, let alone a Python or a JavaScript one. So at that moment in my life, I started looking at things very differently because I came to understand that I was also turning myself into an economic unit. When I'm ignoring my strengths, when I'm ignoring my talents, I was just looking into how I can profit off, how I can become this big billionaire because all the billionaires that I was studying, apparently, all of them have been in tech. So I also wanted to be in tech, but I came to understand that actually I don't like tech. That was one of the biggest surprises that I've ever come into my life. Like when I use a phone, like my phone, I don't care about the specs. I don't care about the RAM. I don't even know what they do. I don't care about the storage. To me, a phone is just a phone. And I'm not really interested in computers. I'm not really interested in programs. But what was making me go to this direction was because of this thing called profit, money. So I had to change my thinking then. And when I started doing like true self reflection, I actually came to find out that I actually love speaking, I love selling, I love doing businesses, but I love selling more. So when you have to sell, you have to like go and solve real problems that God's people are facing. And that's when really I started focusing on my strengths rather than forcing myself to become someone that I'm not. And that has actually worked quite positively for me. And the reason why I've started this story with that particular moment in my life in 2024, because this was happening to me end of 2024, actually coming into 2025. And when I started focusing on my strengths, when I started focusing on what I like to do, actually, what I just find easy to do, I like talking. I think I'm quite a good orator. So I started focusing more on how can I become a good orator? How can I become a better salesperson? And yo, my life just took a 180-degree turn because I became so competent. Because this is something I love doing. This is something that I think about often. I just think about, hey, how can I do this? How can I do that? I just had this deep need to want to be in business because I love solving real problems, solving real life problems. And when I became very competent in my work, got me into some trouble, which I'm not going to get into right now. And the whole of 2025 actually was one year that had a lot of reflections and a lot of ups and downs. A lot of downs that I've learned from actually. I actually learned that people don't love intelligent people. People don't love when you stand out. People don't love when you express yourself authentically. People just want to put you in some box and they want you to fit in there. And you have to somehow go above what they want you to be. When you're a great person, people will not love you. When you're just a genuinely good person, people will not love you. And in 2026, at the end of 2025, I vacated from where I was staying for a very long time. So I came into the countryside, and into the countryside is where now I see life in a very different perspective because I came to realize that guys, we actually live in a real this world of ours is not just we're not just here like for chance. It's not just chance that we are here. It's actually we are here to experience the beauty of life. And I came to realize and I came to understand how the mundane things in life are actually the greatest things that you can ever have. For example, I was quite shocked to see my grandmother saying that she misses me and she genuinely misses me, she's happy to see me. And this is an experience that also has come from my nieces and my nephews. When your nieces and your nephews see you, they're actually excited to see you, and they have nothing to gain from you. It's not that like they are doing it for profit or to get something from you. They're just doing it because they actually care about you. Even your mother, even my mother, which I'm blessed to have one. I know many people are not that privileged. My mother actually is okay. She loves me. She shows you that she loves you. She does things for you because she does not want to profit off of you. When I was living in the city, when you see someone, for example, these fake friends, I've come to into contact with a lot of them, and I've seen how people react or how people respond when you have successes in your life. People become sort of psychophants because they want to be close to you so that they can extract every single resource from you. And when you don't do what they expect, they get mad at you. But when you come into the countryside life here is actually kind of slow. When you wake up, there's just the sun, there's just animals here, there's sheep, there's dogs. They don't expect anything from you. You just have to be. Then there's actually nature. Nature actually points us to the higher reality of our lives. Like we're just not here to get money and die. Essentially, when you're in the city, that's actually your work. You are just supposed to go to work, a work that you probably hate. Actually, you work there, then you come home, then you maybe if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, excuse me, I have a common cold. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you're just supposed to spend like 2 3 hours there, and then you go into office politics. Then you have to live in this life where you have to wear many faces. You have a face for work, you have a face for friends, you have a face for it feels like no one truly knows you. When you get into a relationship when you're in the city, for example, I'm not saying that even if you get into a relationship in the countryside, you're supposed to you're not obliged to wear faces. But the thing is, when you're in the city, every single time, every room that you enter, you have a face for church, you have a face for work, you have a face for your parents, you have a face for your friends. When you have to, for example, there is one of the reasons why I stopped drinking alcohol is I found out that I was apparently drinking because my friends were drinking as well. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. I was just like there, I never really thought into it. And I've seen a lot of people who do things that because they are afraid of going their own way. So when I came into the countryside and I saw people genuinely happy to see you. You have neighbors. They actually smile. I hope their smiles are real, but they actually just smile when they see you. They want to talk to you. When you are in the city, especially when you're living in an apartment, you might be living in an apartment that has over 100 tenants, and you don't know anyone, and you don't even want to know anyone there. And actually, that's very sad. The reason why I started with my story about capitalism and how the world has turned everything into something that we should profit off is because I've come to realize that this is not really the way to live life, and we are actually doing harm to ourselves. We are actually harming ourselves with these systems that we've created. We are harming ourselves in these relationships that You can't even be vulnerable, you know. You can't even say, you can't admit to any weakness. You can't admit to any flaw. You know, when you get into social media, you just have to post your life. You post the peak highlights of your life. You post when you're going to a club. You post when you're going to a nature walk. You post when you just in the best clothes that you bought. When you buy clothes, actually, for some people, it's actually so extreme that when they buy clothes, they just fantasize about what people will say. I was there at one point in my life, so I know what I'm saying. And I was in the extreme end actually. And when I've come to realize, man, like when you come to just think of it, that's the highlights that you maybe many people post. I'm not saying they do, but many people post online is like a tiny fraction of their lives. There's a point in my life actually when I was when I was in depression and came to realize I was at a very very awkward. I was in a very very awkward conversation with some girl that time, and she wanted us to be in a relationship. But I was trying to communicate to her and tell her that my mental state does not allow me to be in any kind of relationship. But this girl was so insisting. So at that time, it really rang up to me. It rang on me that, you know, people really don't know me. It's not like I wanted to be known at that time anyway. But what really made me feel so bad was because uh, I don't know why this girl was insisting so much on being in that relationship. To be honest, but it came to me that she was being selfish because she did not want to hear what I was saying. I was saying that I'm not okay, and instead of her asking, "How are you doing? How can I help you? What do you need?" You know, she did not care about that at all. What she cared most about was, "Yo, I want mine. I want now. I want you now." And yo, man, that realization was actually kind of very depressing at that stage of my life. I'm saying this because many people, I think many people are actually very interesting. I think many people are actually have very good interests. Many people are, are, are really good people, but they are afraid of showing themselves out there because first of all, the world will shun you. Definitely, the world will criticize you. People will be like, "Yo, why are you even here? Why who cares? You know?" And that's the kind of world we live in. If you don't have profit for anyone, if you can't benefit anyone in any way, people really don't care. And it's sad. It's actually really sad. It's so sad. People don't like if you're not useful to them, you're dead. And we have actually gone up to the extent of quantifying our lives with productivity, with how much you give out, how much commissions you get, how much which percentage of up to 100 are you performing at work. We're really doing a lot of harm to ourselves. And this year, my biggest realization was coming to the coming to that realization, especially with those just simple interactions that I've had with family members who I'm very lucky to have really opened up a door to me that I've seen life in a very very different perspective. And when you're in the city, actually, you're like, yo, the people in the countryside are just backward people, you know. When they come into the city, especially in a city like Nairobi, where you're actually dealing with fags or people who just want to profit off of you again. These people are considered as backward people. And but when you come and live with them, you just see the normal interactions that they have. These people have their lives have so much meaning than yours. And because when you just sit down and ask yourself, when what is the last time someone genuinely missed you, someone genuinely said something that was good to you and did not want anything in return, if it's not your child, you know, and you'll come to realize that actually many people are living, I don't know, in a very very hostile world. We're living in very very hostile mindsets. This mindset of profit, extraction, and when you look into it in depth, you actually realize that when you look into quote unquote ambitious people or the kind of ambitions that is being sold to us, you know, this lifestyle of a million, a billion. when you look into those people who are actually in the grind, you know, in the hustle culture, who are doing everything they can in order to be the top male, the top female, having starters, these people are actually kind of depressed because when you talk to them, it's like the world is almost always coming to an end. It's like they are hustling, hustling, hustling with a lot of anxiety. I don't know. There are people who are relaxed at this, or they're just good at hiding it. But um, and if you look at it in the broader scale, what we are doing to ourselves really, we are just reducing human beings into means of having profit. We are reducing ourselves, our friends, our families into means to achieve whatever we want. We just don't see them as people. We see them as means. We see them usually like just tools. The way you can, the way you can want to call a person, you just take a phone and call them. So that is the same way we see it. And there's also this indulgence in decadence and indulgence in the bodily matters. When you see how people just do it, doesn't care at all about the feelings of the other person, the other party. They will rather lie about it. They will rather fake their whole lives about it in order to get whatever they want, which is actually their sex. And when they are done with it, then they get into that depressive state because you've used someone else to achieve your own means without even having any form of intimacy, any form of vulnerability, any form of, all of that is gone. We've just reduced our lives into becoming cogs in a machine. And that's one of the saddest things that I've ever seen in my eyes. I've also seen myself reduce myself into that kind of person when I was trying to get into coding, which is something I'm not interested in, which I stopped actually. And I'm very proud I stopped. I just decided, because I was looking into my strengths and I'm saying, I was, hey, like, okay, I'm good at orating, I'm good at planning. And when I look at into planning, I'm like, there's no way I can monetize planning. Even this social media thing is something that has been quite a journey. If you ask me, I've had a lot of virality on TikTok, maybe not a lot, but quite some virality. I've had quite some virality on Instagram as well. And every single time, the questions that kept raising is, "Hey, how can I monetize this audience? How can I monetize this audience? How can I monetize this audience?" Instead of what value can I offer to this audience? What value can I offer to this audience? And now, now this point of my life, I'm thinking about, okay, the way I'm thinking, not necessarily thinking. I'm just saying my personal philosophy is that maybe you should that verse of Jesus, the verse Jesus says in, I'm not sure, is it Matthew? I think it's Matthew, that you should just do God's work and God will supplicate all your needs when you go forward. There's this deep trust that everyone has to develop, that instead of getting into business with the aim of profit, 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 you just get into business with the aim of, hey, how can I help these people? How can I do this? What is my product solving? What is it that new? What is something new that I'm bringing into the market? What is what are the values of my business? Well, what to someone who will come maybe in the future and see what I'm doing, what will he or she learn? And when you start doing things from that perspective, things really, really change. You don't see people as productive machines. Just do work, do work, do work, go home, I pay you. You don't have any form of intimacy or team building or something like that. When you start doing things from the perspective of adding to the universe, no, instead of adding to yourself, I think a lot of things change. A lot of things change, and that's a journey that I'm also learning because every time I'm just life comes up. Life comes up. We all have our ambitions. We all have our worries about the future. So when you do things, you also want money out of them, and that's actually one of the things that even I, unfortunately, being aware of it, also fall into, you know. But I'm learning that everything is not really about money. Money is really just a tool for exchange, to exchange products, and a tool for safety in the future, so that you just save it in order for the money will come to help you somewhere in the future. I'm really learning not to see money as a status symbol, and to just see it for what it is. Even cars, you know, when you actually think that a car was innovated for you to travel from point A to point B, and that's it. Then you come to realize that how much you've done, how much damage you've done in our perception in seeing cars as status symbols. For example, when someone is riding a Lexus, and when you saw someone is riding a Mercedes Benz, even I, for the longest time, I wanted to have a Mercedes Benz, an S500 actually. I remember that at some point in my life when I was quite young, I'm still young anyway, but I was younger then. I used to have these things of manifestations where I would just wake up and say, "Oh, you know what? I want an S500 Mercedes class, Mercedes Benz uh, sedan, which is white in color, so it just stands out." You know? So every time I was going into the roads, when I was crossing a road, I see an S class. I was like, "Yo, man, I want that thing." And when you come to think of it in terms of, hey, who got into your perception and made you think that having this car means that you have succeeded in a way, you know? Why can't a car just why can't a car just be a car, you know? Why can't a car just be a mode of transportation and not anything else? And yeah, that's also something that I've been learning over time anyway. And I think it fits perfectly into this conversation where everything is turned to be a mode of profit and again for yourself. It's like this huge consumption into our ego. Everything you do is for you, for you, for you. I buy this phone because it will make someone think that I'm of a certain status, I'm of a certain caliber. I have an iPhone. You even see to the people who don't have iPhones, they put this ringtone or the ringtone of iPhone. So maybe it can, I don't know, make them qualify to be people of that status. And because we've been told that having an iPhone means that you're of a certain caliber and it's a marketing campaign, they trick you actually. They make iPhones more expensive so that when you buy them, you reaffirm to yourself that, hey, look, man, I'm a rich person, which you're not, maybe. But when you just come and think of these things in depth, you actually come to realize that the thing that actually really matters in this life is the people around you. It's your parents, it's your friends, and the people who've grown up in your relationships. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, those are the most important people in your life. And the other most important people in your life are actually God's people. Who you are, if you serve God's people, wealth will actually find you. And that's a principle that we have to teach ourselves. You know. And the other thing that is the most important thing is your relationship with God, and then your relationship with yourself and your expression in the world, the things that God put inside you to express and help God's people. And that's pretty much it. And all these things that we put on ourselves, all the identities that we attach, the false identities that we attach in the material things that we buy, all of them actually don't really matter. And these corporations that we found ourselves in, you know, and we see there are many people who are dying of hunger, many people who are dying of thirst. They cannot be helped because the money is being taken to take people to Mars. Who cares about Mars? We need to focus on our problems on Earth, solve them, and stop seeing ourselves as means to an end, and see ourselves as actual divine beings on Earth here to experience God's life. Yeah, and help each other out, man. That's it. Next, till next time, man.